aeroplane was flying over Pacific Ocean, and microphone came live, and there was the voice of the pilot, which said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we are flying over the Pacific. If you look to the left, you will see that the wing is a bit loose. If you look to the right, there's a little fire on the wing. If you look behind, the tail is slightly shaking. And if you look down at the ocean, you'll see a small speck. That is a raft. And this is your captain speaking from there." Now, if this story reminds you of the state of the world as we see today, then we are probably thinking in the same wavelength, and of our country too, at the same time. What is the biggest news right now in the morning today? There is 29 parties coming together who are unhappy with the establishment. They are feeling marginalized. We are not. That is the subject of the discussion today. What is Mr. Trump saying? What's Mr. Trump? What's the big news on Mr. Trump? He's talking about marginalizing a certain community of people and not letting them get entry. Do you have other examples of what is happening in Syria, in Iraq, in any idea you people have on latest? Why is the Syria conflict going where it is, and the Iraq? I presume you, as future generation, are keeping a close eye on these developments around the world. These are important developments because they are going to affect your life, and to make sure that you do not become marginalized. We all are using power at the local level, at the house level, at the national level, and at the international level. We all are using power. We all have this intrinsic need to control over other people, their emotions, and we have the need to dominate. And at times our fear is so high that we feel the need to kill. As human beings, we have done all of these things. We have become saints. We have become people who have attained godhood. We have become devils. We have killed our neighbors. Some of us, we have killed our children. This is all within us. We just have to understand how human beings are made. We are made. We are made to be God seekers. We are made to be killers. We are saints and we are devils, all in one of us. Tomorrow, each one of us is able to kill our neighbor if we feel threatened, sufficiently threatened. We are able to kill. So, given that is the nature of how we are, we need to see what is sustainable in the longer run. Now, as you have seen in the Middle East, there has been a revolution. There were certain communities. Let's take an example of Syria, where I worked for a long time. There was a president there who was actually from the minority group. That the president belonged to a group that was only 10% of the population. But he ruled. He ruled and he allowed. He protected all other groups there, the Christians and the Kurds and the Shias. But one group he marginalized. That were the Sunni population. The Sunni population he marginalized. The result is that he managed to achieve a lot with the other groups except the Sunni group, until the Sunnis took up arms and are currently trying to overthrow him for a very long time. Hundreds of thousands of people have died. So when you do marginalize someone, as we were told, the president talked about inclusiveness of all groups, all people. What we are trying to do is do not marginalize anybody. everybody should be part of the system. Everybody must have a place under the sun. They all must feel included. That is what we are talking about. Let's talk at home. Does everybody in Nepal feel included, or do they feel excluded? Or do some people feel overly included, some people feel overly excluded? Power. Does everybody feel a sense of power, or do they feel a sense of powerlessness in Nepal? What is your opinion? Anybody want to? Those of you who are sitting here are obviously from the privileged position, where you come from. You all are feeling certain amount of power in your, either financial power or social power, whatever. You are feeling comfortable. There are those, but have you seen people who feel that they are not in power, who feel distressed that they have nothing to gain in life? They have lost hopes. Is there a population like that in Nepal?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what do you know? Can you name a few? Can you instances of groups, powers? Can you name some? Pardon? Musar community, yeah. Raute community. Okay, Sherpas too? Chepang too, okay. All right. Street, okay. Right. So all these are people who are feeling marginalized. Now, inclusiveness is necessary. But if it doesn't happen, if inclusiveness is not happening, there is a cause. What is the cause? What we have done is somebody has borrowed money and he cannot pay that money back. So he needs to pay back in terms of labor. He gives labor and he also convinces his children to pay labor. So there is exploitation which has been accepted. One person is accepting exploitation and also convincing all his children to expect exploitation and continue to be exploited. Continue to be exploited. So therefore, we have a situation here in the country where we have institutionalized exploitation, and not only institutionalized it, but also convinced the people exploited that it's okay for them to be exploited. And then their children, it is also okay for the children to be Dalits and Kamaras. It is all right for all, to be untouchable is also okay, because some of them will say we are untouchables. So the history goes back a little bit back to our feudal system of the kings, and the exploitation mechanism which we have set in place. The kings and the Brahmins and the Kshetris and the Dalits, they, during their time of reign, they convinced the countrymen that these are the superior people, the rest, the Tagadhari and Matwalis. They divided them into two. Those who wear the thread, the Tagadharis, and Matwalis are those who drink alcohol. So Tagadharis basically said, we are the ones who will make the rules for the society, and Matwalis are, some of you are touchable, and some of you are untouchable. Those of you are Sarkis, Damais, and there is a Damai, Sarki, and what else? There is third? Huh? Kumai. So those are the three untouchables. Now, this got somehow institutionalized in our psyche. We started to accept that Sarkis should be untouchable, Damais are untouchable, and the Kamis can also be untouchable, and the Tagadhari Brahmins or the Kshetris, as the case may be, became the superior class. And we convinced the Matwalis that they should provide service to the Tagadharis. But it doesn't mean that Tagadharis all became rich. The Tagadharis in far west Nepal, west and far west, are actually poorer than Matwalis, many of the Matwalis. But still, that became somehow the state of governance, the rule to govern the country. And it got accepted. It got accepted at the ruling level, and it got accepted at the level of the ruled, those who were ruled. So the country is still continuing with that pattern. Then came some Tagadharis, like myself. They came and they said, oh, there is exploitation going on under the old system, so we should change it. So they became leaders again, the Tagadharis, and they got the Matwalis to fight for them again. So the Tagadharis, for some reason, managed to seem to go up and to dictate the laws of the society, whether they are as egalitarian, communist egalitarian society they want to create, or whether they want to be the king and his associates as feudal lords. In either case, what is surprising to me, because Baburam was my classmate, what is surprising to me that in case it is the Tagadhari which is actually ruling the norms, social norms. Be that as it may, that is the state of the nation. Now, as we have come down here, the problem with this system is that it is not a sustainable system, because now all the younger people, everybody else has realized that this is not a system that can stay. It is not sustainable. Everybody is equal. Now we are talking about equal, inclusive, democratic society where all people are born equal. Has been the statements made. So democratic rights have to be worked out. We have got social and cultural rights. Everybody has social and cultural rights and economic, political and, social and economic rights and economic, social and cultural rights. 1948 Declaration of Human Rights, which has been codified into the conventions now, since then. These conventions have given people the right to demand their place under the sun. But that is not percolating to Nepalese society. The reason is that the deeply held beliefs are still there. We still are living under the shadow of feudal society structure, which we created. Muluki Ain, which was written, has institutionalized the Jat and the caste, all of the system until 1963, when Muluki Ain was amended. But Muluki Ain in law is amended, but that does not mean that the attitudes of the people have changed. So large section of Nepalese society continue to be marginalized today. The women, the pure and the impure. The Tagadharis are pure, others are impure, was one thing that was propagated. It was propagated that women under the Hindu law, the women women are the carriers of the race, they have to be pure. If women have several partners, they become impure, and so they don't carry the race. This kind of nonsense. Then they have got, there are other aspects to that, saying that men can never be impure because they can take a bath and become pure. You see, this kind of nonsense has been spread and codified in our system and in our psyche. If you go to villages until today, villages are uncomfortable being equal to you if you are not their level or the caste. First thing they will ask you in village, what is your caste? They immediately want to place you on which should actually be illegal, because that is a discriminatory practice which harms human dignity and which forces people to be in places where they should not be. We are all born equal. We have equal rights. We have economic rights, social rights, cultural rights. All of us have. But until we go and demand a set of these rights from the people, our country will continue to have large section of marginalized people, and we will continue on this road which is going actually nowhere. If you look at our country's direction, it is going absolutely nowhere. Do you see that or not? Do you think the country is going to any particular direction right now? See, in terms of political direction, we have none right now. We have a constitution which no one is accepting, or a large majority are not accepting. We have largely dissatisfied middle class and lower class, and we have a business community which is highly frustrating. Now, I am not here to discourage you. I am here to inspire you. These are the realities of this nation. And we need to work together to give this country a direction. We need to abolish all the aspects of marginalization that we have been dealing with so far. Anybody who talks about caste, there are the talks are going in two levels. One is the cultural aspect. In the cultural aspect, ethnicity, your practices, and religion are important cultural identity for people. It's a cultural identity. It includes this. But religion is your choice, and it is your relationship between you and God. Nobody else should talk to you about what religion you should belong to. It's between you and your God. There are aspects of language. People are entitled to protect their languages because it's part of the cultural identity, as much as religion is, and social values are. Those are fine within the community. But as a nation, we are all equal. We will not be discriminated on the basis of caste, race, religion, nationality, membership of a social group, or political opinion. Everybody is allowed to have these opinions, right? Talking of which, if you look at the world, because I'm supposed to give you a global view, if you look at the world as we see now, large number of people are leaving the Middle East and going to Europe. You have seen this in your TV channels, those of you who are. They are all feeling marginalized by their nation, and they have no place to live. So they are all going abroad. So if somebody goes abroad, if you are going abroad like this, should that country protect you? That's a big debate in Europe right now. Supposing you go tomorrow, you say there are political forces in Nepal, they are harassing me, I don't want to stay in Nepal. Should they protect? Should they let you stay in their countries? Should they or should they not? They should. Why should they do that? They say, we have earned everything, we are rich, you have nothing in your country, you are just running away, coming to our country, why should we give you to stay in our country? Your forefathers didn't work hard, we worked hard, we created Germany, we created France, now you want it all for free. Why? Why should we give you? Question. America, many of you, I'm sure, here have a dream of going either to Australia or to America. These people might say, why should you come and take what we have? We worked very hard for this. So should they give you? Why? Why? It's a correct answer, but you have to give me a reason. Now, supposing some groups in Nepal are trying to kill you, should they let you stay there? Do you say, I run away because I cannot stay in my country? Like in Syria. Syrians are going to Europe and saying, I'm going to die, there's war. Can you please give me asylum? And the chancellor in Germany said, okay, 1 million I will take, but not rest. But should she give? Did you hear Angelina Jolie speak last night at BBC? I don't know. Angelina Jolie gave a very powerful, a very moving speech last night on this very subject. I see that you people are not keeping up to date with news. Anyhow, tell me, she has made a powerful call for people to be given asylum. Okay, here is what, there are large number of people around the globe that are getting marginalized, meaning they cannot stay home, there is war going on there. Population movements nowadays in the world, there are 200 million people on the move right now as we speak, 200 million people. It's not a small number. People are moving. countries and boundaries in this generation have been changing. We have seen the fall of Russia. We've seen the breakdown of the Berlin Wall. We have seen the emergence of new nations like South Sudan and East Timor. The world is a constant change. It's not static. Therefore, you need to follow this very carefully because your life depends on this. You are following and tracking where the world is going. Please don't sit at rest and think that just because you got a business or a social science degree, you are safe. The world is in a state of flux. It is moving. And you have to keep a pace with that movement. So what happened was in the soon after the formation of the United Nations, there were lots of people in Europe that were displaced. After the war, Second World War, there were, the war had displaced a lot of Jews, and people in Europe had moved, and the people had become homeless, hundreds of thousands of them. So where do they go? Just like Nepalese trying to go to Africa and from there to Europe and going to Middle East and then from there to Europe, Nepalese are also on the move right now, looking for opportunities elsewhere. But not because of the same reasons, during the Maoist insurgency, there were a lot of Nepalese who left Nepal and said, we are not safe in our country and we need a place to stay. So the United Nations at that time said, then these people are foreigners. If you go to a country and you are a foreigner, why should that country protect you? You don't have documents, you don't have passport, and so on. So the United Nations decided that there needs to be an international mechanism for protection of people who are forced to leave their country. So then the 1951 convention was adopted, in which he said people fleeing persecution will be protected internationally. So if you are fleeing persecution and you can prove that, then your nation will not protect you, but the international community will. So they set up a mechanism for international protection for people who are forced to flee their country of origin by force. Things like that. But anyway, these are the marginalized community. Right now, what is happening is around the world, in Africa, in the Middle East, and in parts of Asia where there is instability, people are fleeing. These are marginalized people. The international community has a protection mechanism in place for these people. But there are others who are feeling marginalized, and the nation state, our nation as a state, our country, does not have a mechanism to make sure that people are not displaced from our country. So what you be prepared is to ensure that the country gets to a situation where everyone feels included, everyone feels equal, everyone is under democratic society, and everyone is empowered. That's the way you want your country to be, right? That is where we want to go. If we are not going to go there, your effort has to be to make sure that the country moves in that direction where no one is left feeling neglected, powerless, destitute, and unempowered. That's the goal, that being the goal. As it happened in other countries, you see, when the Vietnam War, I was in Southeast Asia at that time when the Vietnam War ended. Hundreds of thousands of people left by boat and by land. When some went to Indonesia, some went to Singapore, some went to to Malaysia, and some came to Thailand. They're all unempowered people. They could be robbed along the way with all their possessions. They took boat from Vietnam to all these countries, and the pirates would rob them and rape them and drown them at sea. This is what we as human beings are capable of doing. When we find someone is powerless, then we are prone to exploiting them. And we and our forefathers have done it for generations. We have exploited people that we think we could. And when Clinton was asked why he did what he did, he said, just because I could. So this kind of thing is that when people feel that they can exploit, we we have a tendency to do that. We need to watch that among ourselves. So that is basically the global situation of marginalization. What are the causes of the marginalizations? Sometimes is cultural, and sometimes we have institutionalized it. Sometimes some people in power have caused you to be marginalized, but that is the state of the nation. Let me stop here.